That's right, I finally found a quartz vein, and there's plenty of antimony to be had, so I'm no longer kept at night by crippling fear of making batteries. And I used the scanner to find it, but I learned two things while doing so. One, while the scanner does let you find large deposits underground, I actually found the most useful use for this was to actually just use it on the surface, where it will find you the samples much more easily in all of the hidden grass everywhere, and you just can look around to see what's available. And it made finding this vein a whole lot simpler. Two, if you turn shaders on, which I can now again now that I have a new computer and I'm not crippled by the game wanting to crash every hour when I had them running before, if you go and activate it here, you'll find out very quickly that it doesn't work. It just shows the mouse over icons that tell you what's there, but they don't show you anything else. This is kind of why I tend to keep the shaders off, because this is not the only bug we're going to run into, even if it does look super pretty. Hello everybody, I'm Martin. Welcome to another episode of Statech Industry. And since I found the antimony, we must surely be moving on with our automation, so I'm not scared to make more assemblers, right? That can't be what this assembly line behind me is for, correct? Well, yeah, it is, except while making the assemblers, I made a grave mistake, and you see how I'm out of copper? I forgot to upgrade the drawers, and I increased the amount of ingots that were being made, but they maxed out at 512, and that jammed up the furnace and macerator inside there. So we are kind of backed up on materials right now, and well, while digging around gigantic, long, huge tunnels deep under my base looking for the antimony to begin with, which that was a terrible idea. I couldn't find anything down here. I mean, there's large pockets of everything, but when you're looking for something specific, this doesn't work out. One of the things I realized you could find pretty easily with the scanner are geodes, because you can see it pops up the deep slate amethyst right here, and they show up in large amounts, and you just punch a hole through and you will find them pretty easily, which of course means I brought some amethyst home to play with. And now that we found the last sort of geode that we need, we can get started on the World of Magic quest line, because now that we found all this, we can now move into the pigment pedestal and get started on Spectrum. And I need to be clear, this is all brand new to me. I've looked up none of this before. I have done none of Spectrum before. This is all going to be a surprise to me, so you're going to be learning at the same time I am. But this first step seems pretty simple. We just need to make a pigment pedestal of one of these varieties. These bottom ones we can't make yet, and they're all pretty much the same. They just require the correct type of shard and a matching die to go along with it. We also need to make a paintbrush, which is just some strings, and some basalt and calcite, which I think I have both of these. Going to be really awkward in a minute if I find out that's not true. Oh hey, and remember how I said these mooing, loud, obnoxious cows were a problem because there were no muffling mods in this pack? Well, it turns out I am an idiot. It's not actually a block you make in this pack, it's a mod straight up in your inventory. We just go into this muffler and remove anything that we find annoying. You know, sort of like the ambient cow noises, which we'll never have to hear again. Problem solved. Alright, pigment achieved. Now, the quest we just finished has all of the instructions that we need to get started with this, and it mentions things like that it can be automated by the paintbrush or by a redstone signal. It requires air or an inventory above it, and that it needs gemstone powder. I have no idea what any of that means at all. But I'm going to do something and go grab the quest rewards right now, because these are the Spectrum rewards and we might get something interesting. We got more topaz. That is the opposite of interesting. From here, it gives us 3 branches to go off into, one of which are these wands from wizards, and another is a crafting tablet for automating stuff. However, if we come into these recipes, it tells us on the pedestals crafting UI that we haven't discovered this yet. So instead, we're going to go over to these gemstone pilots and see if this causes things to make sense. And this one is actually pretty easy, because while you can just drop an anvil on things to shatter them, we can also just macerate them. So I can either take a silk pickaxe, use the topaz clusters to get 16, or I can grind up these blocks of topaz for 4. This is obviously much more efficient. That said, the only source of silk touch I have right now is on my iron hammer, which is nearly destroyed from mining all of the antimony and just trying to find it in the first place. Since I have a fair number of these blocks right now, we are just going to macerate it and move on. You know, it occurs to me that maybe I just have to put that down to get new recipes, and yeah, this new chapter's unlock thing seems likely. Yep, there's a whole bunch of recipes. Yep, there we go. Now I can make these wands, which require, gold rods, which actually I can do. You know, it occurs to me that maybe I should make the Spectrum book and make this a little easier on myself. Yeah, here we go. Obviously, this would have helped a lot sooner, because here's the intro to everything we have unlocked. All right, to progress this one right here, it wants us to make any item inside the pigment pedestal. And looking at these things, well, the glow vision goggles sound vision, they give night vision, but they need glowing sacks to both make and use. And while I haven't even seen a single glow squid at all yet, and this heartbound chest is basically just an upgraded normal chest, which I don't really need. But this compacting chest right here, this actually sounds interesting because this is an automated compactor of some sort, and this is the sort of thing we absolutely could use, although I don't like the fact that this costs XP because I am already hurting and I can't repair my hammer as it is. But let's get it made, I suppose. Well, that's fancy looking. Now we right click it with the paintbrush, I think. Yep, and there we go. It should take 40 seconds if I read that right. Well, this is honestly the first time I've had a crafting bench play music at me before, and more stuff unlocked. So let's do the same thing and get our rewards. Ignoring all the pop-ups, it looks like we got an enchantment canvas, which I have no idea what that's for yet. Some fire runes from runes, which again, I don't know what that is either. And some more shards that we don't need. But this unlocks the variant pedestals. And it looks like to do that, all we need to do is put a topaz, an amethyst, and a citron in the pedestal, and yep, it immediately lit up. Well, it looks like this works with shaders on, although it's actually less pretty due to the lighting effects. That's disappointing. And upgraded. Grabbing the reward, which titration barrel. Well, that's very rainbowy, and I have no clue what any of this does because I apparently can't use it yet. But both this and the quest book say that now it's the time to make a multi-block out of basalt and or calcite to lay this out. And to be clear, I'm going to put it in here for now, but this is not going to be its final resting place, at least not right here. It'll probably be on an upper floor, or I'll figure something out, but we need to put it somewhere where I can at least work with it for the time being. Well, I'm certainly glad I set up these standalone machines over here by my furnaces finally. All right, so the quest book mentioned this, but if you come into the pigment pedestal and you see the structure upgrade available icon, if you click that, there is a visualizer for how to lay out everything. The calcite and basalt blocks can be of either type, and the gemstones can be of any of the 4 types that are available that you want to use. All right, and with that, we have the starting altar done, and this really feels like a mix of astral sorcery and blood magic, but here we are. Now, I had to touch the pigment pedestal to actually light up the achievement that unlocks the quest, and you can see there's some slight variations on the interface from before. And this opened up a whole lot of options up here, one of which is apparently time in a bottle. Huh, but let's get a reward and we get another compacting chest because of course we're going to get the item we actually made. Of course. Ah yes, and finally a use for the Bork lanterns, although maybe I should switch that to the citron blocks. It might look a little bit better than that. So one of the things the quests here want us to do is find a new ore and a new plant. The ore is very cryptic, but using the scanner I'm now seeing the shimmerstone ore here, which I'm pretty sure is it, because these used to be like labeled mystery characters before, and now I can actually see them. All right, let's see if this is it. And it sure looks like it was. Ooh, and it unlocked a new pickaxe. Let's grab the reward real fast. Let's see if we get anything interesting. The answer was another titration barrel, which I still don't know what that's for. But this does mention the lucky pickaxe, and it looks like, oh, Fortune 3, which I already have on top of my diamond pickaxe, which is depressing because this is actually really easy to make. The more exciting part is that mining plus the various quest rewards have given me enough to fix my hammer finally. You know what? I wonder if we can cheat the wand one because I actually found a frost wand in a chest a long time ago. Let's pick it up and see what happens. Oh, hey, and it did complete it, which opens up netherite wands, which I don't think I found enough netherite to actually make yet. And you know what? It looks like I need to make frost runes to even use them. Oh, which it tells me right over here I would have to make. Yeah, that would make sense, I suppose. I suppose it's a good thing that I already knew where to find snow, thankfully. All right, doing this once the expensive way, just to get the quest out of the way. Oh, and maybe we got something shiny here. Oh, it has lights. Uh-oh, I have no idea what I just did. Anyhow, the point was one of the things we unlocked was the rune crafting altar, which lets us make runes cheaper, and it itself is extremely cheap to make. So I guess we should do this, and I'm wanting to see if having all of these loaded at once works, and it did light up. So I'm assuming it just consumes what it needs. All right, and we should just be able to put these in, and yep, they now make 8 at a time instead of 2. I think it's time to see if we're a wizard, Harry. All right, let's see how this works. Lifts up the mob and hits it, and barely seem to dent it. This is disappointing. Now that said, I don't have the netherite wand, and there's also a series of robes we could make that don't look too bad. It just requires a whole bunch of blue wool. All right, fine. I guess we can do this. Surely I must be a wizard, right? Now I should note that holding down Alt on the wand with all of the armor off shows that it does 1.6 to 2.4 spell damage. With the armor on, it upgrades to 4.8 to 7.2. Hopefully that's significant, but I suspect it's probably not. However, while we wait for it to turn night so I can more easily test this, let's go to the spell binding table, which is the next series of upgrades for wizards. And this is just another pedestal crap that's pretty easy to do. It's actually really similar to the enchanting table, up to and including how it actually works. Because it uses the same general setup as the normal enchanting table with the books, and I'm just going to move this temporarily so we can test this out. When we come in here, I have no idea what we're supposed to do here. But the quest book, in theory, has some answers for us because we want to make war tomes, it looks like. And it looks like it's just like the enchanting table. You just need a book and some lapis, and we have some choices here. And I don't know what any of these are. Well, I suspect I want the Frost Battle Mage's spell book here, or the Tome of Frost. I'm actually not sure. Well, let's make the Frost Battle Mage's spell book and move on with our life. And that looks like that terminates that path. So let's get all of our rewards and see if we get anything interesting. So the main things we got were some radiant glass, an amethyst basalt lamp, and then another enchantment canvas. That, however, did open up 2 more of these, and radiant glass is just glass that glows, and the gemstone lamps are lamps, which got us the lucky pickaxe. Shiny! Which got us some more radiant glass. It at least looks neat, but does not look like it can be enchanted above the Fortune 3, which is actually kind of disappointing. Anyhow, I promised some more pew pew, so let's see how this does. Still pretty sad. I'm going to get wrecked by that spider. Now, to be clear, this isn't the obvious battle magic one. The real one, the arcane that just does actual damage, I think, if I really wanted to go that route. This, as it says, is for slowing things down. Go away. I'm monologuing. Why are there more? Anyhow, this is probably a good time to call it a night and run away from the zombies so I don't have to keep fighting them, even though I need their precious, precious experience. If you found this interesting and entertaining, please consider like or subscribe if you're new. As always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.